2019 with myself, Buster Scher, and Eytan Shander of SB Nation Radio and ESPN Radio in Philly. So before we talk about the Nets news, what's next for the Sixers, let's just drop in a real quick reminder that you can drop in on the fan line. So the way you do that is by clicking the fan line button option. You get queued up, and then you join us right here. There's a third screen, and we talk some hoops. So that'll be a lot of fun. You can find that in the top right of your screen, and our producer will bring you in face to face. So without any further ado, obviously the biggest news of the day, and it depends on who you are, as we have a beautiful dog joining in on the chat.
Jace, my Weimaraner. Sorry, brother.
No, it's perfect. He decided to come in for the biggest news of the day, which was that Kevin Durant signed with the Brooklyn. Oh, that makes sense then. But Kevin Durant signed with the Brooklyn Nets. What was your initial reaction?
Wow. I honestly thought that, to be honest, man, I thought he was going to the Knicks. I thought that this was something that the Knicks had in their hands. And if anything, there would be an announcement that would shock us to say he's going to sign that max back in Golden State, and everything is going to be fine, and all the panic that set in at the end of the finals, and oh my God, this is going to be it. I honestly thought it was going to be the Knicks, where he was going to leave anyway and leave the money on the table.
Yeah,
I was honestly flattened, shocked by the news. Now, being here in Philadelphia, I can't really take tons of shots at you because it's like the Nets are right there now. So we're looking at the Knicks kind of like, oh, yeah, kind of laughing a little bit at what the Knicks have done. But the reality is the Nets have leapfrogged the Sixers by, 2 feet at least. I didn't think this was going to happen. I think that what you saw leading up to it, right, was the connection of Kyrie and KD and how real that could be. But I think that there was something that kind of began the fizzling of Kyrie to the Nets, or at least kind of phasing that out a little, or to the back burner a little bit. And maybe that opened up the whole thing with Durant staying. But honestly, I was shocked. Not as shocked, I think, as Knicks fans like yourself. I'm sorry, brother. I mean, what do you say to that? What do you say to that situation?
The initial reaction as a New York Knicks fan was that, how did they let this fall through? What could they have done differently? Was it management top down? Was it them not seeing a future and a potential within a New York Knicks franchise? And then after the fact, we realized the Knicks just did not give him the money. Kevin Durant's worth a max contract. He's worth a supermax. If you can give him a supermax, which you can't if you're the Knicks or the Nets, but if you could, you should, because he's Kevin Durant, and regardless of how he plays, he's going to sell you jerseys. He's going to sell you tickets. He's going to make people excited about a team, and other players are going to want to come to that team that can play now. But instead, the Nets are going to be the NBA champions in 2021.
I can't believe it. You're right. Think about this. Durant would be the top-selling jersey in that building without playing a game.
Yep.
The entire season.
Zero games played.
Nothing. He's in a suit. You know what? You could sell. Remember they used to rip D Rose, how he have like the wingtips as his new shoe?
Yeah,
he was constantly hurt. You could make something like that with Durant all year. And you would be able to sell shoes and a suit, and you would still be able to sell a jersey. You're right. Just from the marketing and merchandise standpoint alone, I'm blown away they didn't take that risk. And then you hear they don't offer that 5th year? What? Come on.
It's beyond ridiculous, especially seeing the fact that Kevin Durant has come back from serious injuries in the past.
Good point.
He did it in OKC. Russell Westbrook was holding his own ground, and then Kevin Durant came back better than he was before, a more dynamic and higher IQ basketball player than he was before the injury. The same exact thing's going to happen this time around. It's just going to be a year.
It's tough. You're right. We've seen it already. And now you get to look at it across the bridge, and it's right there in your home where you've seen a team, a bridge and tunnel team. All right. The Knicks have let a bridge and tunnel team infiltrate the borough of Brooklyn. All right. That's the mecca for everything, for pizza, for hip hop, for movies, for culture. It's the mecca for everything. Yeah. And they let a team from, think about the metaphor of a New Yorker. You're a New Yorker born and bred, and Brooklyn has allowed New Jersey to take over and infiltrate. Unbelievable.
It's so sad, honestly. It really, really is. And I know how long Kevin Durant has been a fan of Jay-Z. But honestly, apart from all that, what I find funniest about the entire thing is, if you remember a year ago, before Kyrie Irving played his first game in Boston, he announced on the loud microphone to the entire stadium of Boston Celtics fans that he was going to re-sign in Boston the next year. Had a terrible postseason.
Awful.
Terrible.
Awful.
One of the worst performances I've seen from him in his entire college plus NBA career, although he didn't play that many games in college. And he just bounced because he knew he wasn't welcome there anymore.
It's crazy, right? They're basically like, you got to go. You got to go.
And they replaced him with Kemba Walker, who honestly, a lot of the Boston fans were probably already fans of because he played at UConn. So
right. New game. Absolutely. And you think, when you look at the difference in talent and skill set between the two, it's probably more marginal than the difference of attitude and want to be there.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I'm not saying that Kemba's going to be as good of a basketball player as Kyrie at his best, but the fit and the want to be there, and who knows, maybe Brad Stevens is the problem. He starts rubbing people the wrong way again. But I'll give that team and the coach and the fans the benefit of it. As much as I hate to say it, I'll give them the benefit of the doubt, because it looks like Kyrie was more of the problem than not.
It's crazy. Also, one final thing on the New York Knicks before we move on. The Knicks have publicly now released a statement that says that they know how disappointed fans are, but want everybody to continue to be upbeat about building the team through the draft and quote-unquote targeted free agents.
I mean, this sounds like, what is a country that just lost a war that's putting out some PR, being like, don't worry, we're okay. Keep spending. The economy's fine. You won't have any rulers.
All right, but before we continue, I believe we have Brett from St. Louis in on the fan line. Maybe we can get another opinion on this whole debacle, this whole travesty that's happened in Manhattan and everything's happened in Brooklyn. What's going on, brother?
Yo, what's going on, everybody?
How are you?
Good. How about you? It's been a while, Buster.
It's been a while, man. Good to see you. So, how do you feel about KD being on the Nets?
I think I kind of predicted that he would go on to the Nets. Like, I wasn't too sure. I think it could have gone either way with the Knicks or the Nets. But I kind of felt like he was going to play tag along wherever Kyrie went. So if Kyrie went to the Knicks, it would have been Kevin Durant to the Knicks. If it was Kyrie to the Nets, like it was since Kevin Durant to the Nets. I think what's crazy is how they got DeAndre Jordan there, too. That's going to be insane with Dinwiddie, Jared Allen, Joe Harris. They're going to Karis LeVert. That's a pretty nice team for 2021 whenever Kevin Durant comes back.
Yeah, man. It's going to be interesting. Why do you think it was the Nets over the Knicks?
James Dolan.
Not Jay-Z?
James Dolan. It was all James Dolan. Jay-Z, I mean, I would love to, be playing and see Jay-Z courtside with Beyonce, but, I think James Dolan's what kind of killed it for the both of them.
Yeah, I mean, I remember seeing Jay-Z at a couple games throughout this postseason, going and seeing Kevin Durant both while he was injured and while he was playing. I wonder if any of those post-game press conferences conversations had anything, any impact. Maybe. Beyonce just gave him the wink, and he was like, "I'm coming to Brooklyn."
We got some breaking news if you want me to,
Yeah, Jimmy Butler to Miami
and Al Horford to the 76ers.
Are you serious?
5-time All-Star Al Horford has agreed to a 4-year, $109 million deal
from
the Philadelphia 76ers.
Yeah, there it is. $109 million.
No.
Whoa. They can't afford anybody now. They can't afford anybody. 170, whatever they paid him. Now they're paying Al 109. Are you
crazy
kidding me?
Yeah.
And Josh Richardson also.
Yeah, they get Richardson back, which I actually like. I think Josh Richardson is a really good fit in Philadelphia. The question and I guess problem I have is, why are you paying Al Horford all that money?
Whenever it's like the Chris Paul Rockets contract.
This makes the only thing this reeks of is Al Horford is the only guy in the NBA who seems to have something against Joel Embiid. Let's just sign him. Like he, for whatever reason, neutralize or negate Joel Embiid better than any center or big man. It's like, let's just sign him. That's way too much for a backup center.
Way too much money, especially at his age.
Wow.
Especially because that prevents you from going out and getting other guys. Because they're not going to win with a Tobias Harris, Ben Simmons core with Joel Embiid, who's on and off healthy, and now Al Horford. That's not a championship team.
Not at all. The bench is not there.
If they couldn't do it with what they just had and put chemistry aside, because I don't know how much that's going to change. If they couldn't do it with the team they just had, the roster they just had, with Jimmy Butler, Ben Simmons, Joel Embiid, Tobias Harris. By the way, everybody was healthy. JJ, everybody was healthy. 100% of the players on that team were healthy. If they can't win with that, I don't know what they're doing signing Al Horford to $109 million.
For real. It's a desperate move.
Well, that's the problem, is that the whole issue here last year was you got Butler and Harris in the middle of the year. How much is a full offseason going to give? So the same people who are out there saying, well, now that Harris has a full offseason to work with these guys, you had that same capability with Jimmy Butler instead. It's not, again, I don't dislike Richardson coming back, but it's now you're doing that again. You're resetting with two guys you're going to rely on a lot in Richardson and Horford, whereas you've lost another guy in Butler who you could have easily continued to acclimate to this system with a full offseason. It's like trying to take a step back to take two steps forward, but I think they took a step back to take a step forward.
So bizarre, honestly. I think we have another friend backstage. We have John Corrales from Mass live. Let's get his take on the whole Horford ordeal. So when we can, let's get him in on the stream. What's going on, brother?
Hey, how's it going, guys?
So how do you feel about this? Yeah. How do you feel about it?
I mean, look, Al's going to go get his money. So to get 4 for 109 is a number that's much higher than anything I ever projected. I mean, I was called crazy when I was doing 5-year, $90 million projections in my team building things. People are saying, how are you going to pay Al Horford, first of all, for 5 years? And I always thought 5 years was just spreading the money out, but 90 million people were like losing their minds. And now it just goes to show how much money was out there in this market for guys. I mean, you look at how much money some of these other guys, what's his name from New Orleans, got $20 million a year.
Julius Randle?
Yeah, Randle.
Right.
It's just another summer where teams get money to play with and they just go nuts. So 4 years, 109 is a tough number. The Celtics were never, ever going to get close to that. What's really interesting now is that Al Horford, who is beloved.
Yeah.
Right. I think, you're saying Al Horford is beloved?
I think we're having some audio.
Yeah.
Al Horford is beloved by Celtics fans.
Yeah.
And he's going to Philly. And just from what I've seen on Twitter, the Philly fans just hating on Horford. It's going to be interesting to see how both fan bases react to this kind of thing. So
they're going to have no choice.
I mean, my timeline is pretty much a lot of Philly people, man, and there are a lot of people that are happy about this. I think there are people that are questioning the money, but like I'm looking at a lot of people here, and they seem happier than I am about it because of the ability for him to play the 4. But again, I personally don't like the money. I wouldn't have signed him to that money. But I'm seeing a lot of people where I'm at here in Philly, man, that are pretty happy about it.
I'm a big Horford believer. I think that Horford is a huge loss for the Celtics. I mean, he's a much bigger loss than Kyrie is, in my opinion, because Al Horford, you just can't duplicate the skill set with anybody. I mean, the only person that you got to upgrade to Jokic to get a big that does all of the things that Horford does. Obviously, Jokic does them at an elite level.
Far between, yeah.
But Horford to be able to, I mean, there were stretches where guards were hurt, and Horford was bringing the ball up the floor. So he can handle the ball. He can dribble handoff. He can pick and roll. He can pick and pop. He can hit the 3. He doesn't have big rebounding numbers, but that's because a lot of it's because he's out at the perimeter a lot. He's an elite still rim defender. You saw him how he handled Giannis for a lot of that series. He kind of ran out of gas and didn't have as much help, but he's a guy, you see him up against Joel Embiid. I mean, that's a huge move for Philly just to get Horford out of the conference so he doesn't have to go up so Embiid doesn't have to go up against Horford in a potential playoff matchup. But that's a guy that's given Embiid a lot of problems. So it's a big move. I'm still curious about his overall fit because they got a lot of big people.
They don't have many shooters. You know, they lose. I know they bring back Richardson, but
they lost Redick.
Right. They lose Redick, and there's a lot of pressure on two guys right now, at least in the starting five. I mean, how much are you going to ask Mike Scott to be a knockdown three-point shooter, right? So I think that's the biggest issue that I have with the money going to Al Horford. Listen, you want to sign and trade Jimmy Butler because you're not going to offer him the fifth-year $190 deal. I get it. You bring back Josh Richardson. I'm okay with that. But the problem that I have here in Philly, like watching this team, covering this team, and I got to be honest, is I don't like that much for Horford. But the problem that I face is that everything you laid out, all those positives, especially this magic dust he's able to sprinkle over Embiid and just relegate him to an average player, I'm all about him not having to go up against the Sixers in any capacity. I don't know what they do now with that lineup. Now, they'll have to win games like 80 to 70.
Yeah. Ben Simmons might have to shoot a three.
He might actually have to shoot a three. I think the one thing you really have to consider when you're going after free agents is that you have to overpay a free agent to get him away from, unless it's like Durant where it's clearly a max, but a guy like Horford where you say, what's his value? 4 years at 109, so an average annual value just over $20 million. Is he worth over $20 million a year? Probably not. But you have to overpay, and you have to extend that contract by at least a year to actually get him away from his current team. Because if you didn't, then he would just go back to the Celtics. So if you really want that guy, by definition, you have to overpay. The Celtics overpaid a little bit when they got him from Atlanta, and that was a big conversation in Boston that Al Horford's overpaid. But that's how you have to do business. Yeah. So it's rich, and maybe 4 years. That fourth year is going to be a little tough. Although looking at Woj's tweet here, it's $97 million guaranteed with $12 million in bonuses tied to championships.
Wow,
so it might not.
That's interesting.
109.
That's interesting.
So if Philly wins a championship, then you're gladly going to pay him that bonus. If they don't, maybe pay him a little less. So.
Right. That's a little bit smarter. It sounds better.
Sure. Yeah.
And you said like Durant, who would be guaranteed a max, you should tell that to the New York Knicks.
Yeah, James Dolan is that was a wild move, man. Yeah, we're not so sure about Durant. So because of that injury. Like, yeah, you just pay him. Just pay him.
Doesn't make any sense.
The Knicks are the Knicks, and Dolan. As long as Dolan's around, the Knicks aren't going to do anything. Especially now that they can't just go out and buy. You know, once the collective bargaining agreement changed, and it took a lot of the Carmelo Anthony type moves that the Knicks could make. Like that was their advantage. That's how the Knicks stayed good and relevant for a long time because they print money. Dolan prints money with his cable company, with that arena, with the team. So you can go out and make a deal for Carmelo Anthony. You say, that didn't work out. We're just going to go. They would pay Al Horford not 109. They'd pay him 120. Be like, yeah, let's try that. And it wouldn't matter. With the playing field leveled and you have to play by the same collective bargaining rules, the Knicks, I think you can draw a direct line from when those things changed to the Knicks kind of like falling in relevancy. So without the ability to spend money without regard, I think the Knicks just, and Dolan, because of Dolan, they have no real ability to compete in the free agent market.
Agreed. We have a question from the chat from Jeff. Biggest surprise in the Sixers setup, who plays the Redick role?
That's a good question. Don't know. Because they don't have a Redick. Redick's role was as a guy who ran off, like he ran baselines and would make, like they run floppy action. They run a bunch of like screening on the baseline where he'd come up and turn, catch, and shoot. There's nobody on. There are very few guys in the league that can do that. So the impact that he had in the half court, really, that can't be matched. There's probably like a handful of guys. So unless they sign one of those types of guys, that's not going to be a type of player or type of offense that they're going to run. I think with Horford, if you're playing Horford and Embiid together, you're really just having a big that stretches the floor and you're pulling rim protection away. You're not going to have a JJ Redick type. You're just going to have to find some different way to spread the floor.
Question. Go ahead.
No, I was going to say there's going to be a lot of – I imagine that Richardson and Harris are going to fill the gap. Like before they make that sign and trade, the expectation is the touches that Redick leaves are going to go to Harris mostly because he's the guy shooting around 40%. Now you bring in Richardson. He's another guy that kind of hovers around there as well. So while that's why I was more than happy to part ways with JJ Redick, because if you can bring in anybody who can shoot at a similar clip, chances are they're going to be better defensively. So that I think also they were brutal around the perimeter. I mean, you saw it when they played the Celtics at times. They were brutal, and the Nets too at times. They were brutal around the perimeter, even with a guy like Ben Simmons. So I think you saw that with the draft the last 2 years and letting Redick go. There won't be many guys, but Al Horford may be shooting a lot of threes this year. If you really look at it. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't.
Men are shooting more and more of them.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if he shot a ton of threes this year.
That's interesting. I will take the Al Horford threes over the Ben Simmons threes any day of the year.
Well, I mean, Al Horford has been shooting more and more threes. I think last year they dropped a little bit, but I mean, he's just in his time in Boston. 242 attempts, 226, 203.
Yeah, he'll make them.
He'll go out there and he'll shoot above league average. Now, last year his percentage dropped to 36%, down from 43 the year before. We'll see how that pops back up. What if it does go back up? But he's going to start bombing away for sure, and he'll give you probably 230, 243 pointers. Over the course of the season, at least like 3 or 4 a game.
Yeah, and a lot of those are trail threes too. So him coming up behind and then catching the ball from the point, got out on a fast break. They swarm down low, then he dishes it back out and he gets an open three.
Yeah.
Question from Matt in the comment section: is the East now deeper and stronger than the West?
Well, I don't know this year with KD, right?
Right?
Yeah. I mean, Kawhi's going to have a major impact. If he goes to the Lakers, obviously that changes things.
Right.
If he stays, you've got Indiana, who's gotten better. I haven't seen the updated odds, but I imagine the Sixers are probably really high as well now.
Yeah. It's got to be. Yeah, if anybody out of the East. Yeah.
I'm sorry?
If anybody out of the East makes it to the NBA Finals, they have a much better shot than they have over the last 5 years.
Sure.
Yeah,
sure. I mean,
absolutely.
We have to see what the Bucks how they end up finishing up their roster, but they're going to be in the mix, obviously, just by virtue of having Giannis. Indiana Pacers got better. Depends on the Raptors. Back. Yep, they're going to get Oladipo back, getting Brogdon. They did a nice job. If Kawhi stays with the Raptors, then obviously they're going to be in the mix. Boston, let's see what they do, but at least by getting Kemba, they at least stay middle of the pack, 4th seed maybe. So you could probably say they get a little bit deeper. I still question the end of the playoff, like 7th, 8th seed. Who's going to compete for that? I think in the West, you're still going to have some better teams at the bottom end, but that still there's still a lot to be determined. Like the Utah Jazz got better. We'll see what Denver does. So there's still a lot to be done before we can figure out who's deeper and who's not.
Got it. I agree. Yeah, I agree. I definitely think it's going to be interesting to see how the whole Kawhi Leonard situation is going to play out, though, whether he would actually theoretically join LeBron and Anthony Davis in LA or go to the opposite LA and play as pretty much the sole guy on the Clippers and then try to make that interesting in itself. But if Kawhi ends up going to the Lakers, are they instantaneously the champions next season?
Champions?
Right? They got
champions. I don't know about champions. If they get Kawhi, they're going to be the favorites. But to me, there's still some some questions about how they fill out the rest of the roster, only because with Kawhi, Anthony Davis, and LeBron, you're going to need to sit those guys. Like, you need the load management with Kawhi. You need the load management with LeBron. And you're going to have a lot of games where you're going to have two of those guys, which is a lot. But at the same time, who are you filling out the rest of the roster with? And they're really going to have to nail
J.R. Smith and Carmelo Anthony.
Well, and that's the thing. So, like, if you're playing with two of those guys, so let's say LeBron sits and it's Davis and Kawhi, an amazing two-man game. But in a regular season game, you're not going to tax those guys. You're not going to play them 40 minutes, and you're going to rely on Carmelo Anthony to give you quality minutes. You're going to rely on J.R. Smith to give you quality minutes. So it's going to depress the win total, and it's going to put them in a tougher draw in the playoffs. Fine. The Lakers are going to have three megastars. Maybe that doesn't matter. But if you're asking those three guys to carry a stronger load, does LeBron break down? Does Kawhi break down? You know, there's those three guys have varying histories of injuries. And if you lose one of those guys at all during the playoff run, who do you have that steps up? You don't have a Pascal Siakam. You don't have a Fred VanVleet on that roster. So, and then what happens is you can really defend those two guys and let Carmelo Anthony try to beat you in a playoff series.
Right.
So, yes, obviously I think those three guys make them the favorite, but it's still not a lock. It's not like the Warriors were, because the Warriors had Andre Iguodala. They had Sean Livingston. They had, guys that could, when somebody was off or something was going wrong, you could give it to Iguodala and he would do something. You know, they had bench players over the course of their run that would step up and fill in gaps that would make you pay for paying attention to those other guys. And why they lost this year, because they sacrificed that depth for Kevin Durant. So when they were hit with those injuries, there was just nobody left to step up. And I feel like the Lakers run into that danger. It's not that the Lakers fully healthy aren't a favorite or the favorite. It's that they put themselves at a serious risk, I think, to fall apart quickly if something goes wrong.
Yeah, I mean, the Golden State Warriors bench was a bench equivalent to how talented their starting lineup was, and that's why they won for so many years and were in the NBA Finals for so many consecutive years, while players continued to go down throughout the postseason, and it didn't matter until this past NBA Finals where they had multiple guys go down, and that's when it finally was the straw that broke the camel's back. But I do have the updated 76ers odds. You guys have a guess?
Favored.
5-1.
8-1.
What is it?
8-1. They went from 20-1 to 8-1 after the Horford trade.
So who's right now the top? Is it still the Lakers at minus, or was it 350?
I'm not sure who the favorites are right now, and I think a lot of that will continue to depend on Kawhi Leonard and whether the Toronto Raptors stay as their current team. But
I think that they're still up there with the assumption that he would go to LA. I'm trying to look for the future too. Do you just have the Sixers, or do you have the whole update?
I just have the Sixers right now, but let me pull up the full.
Gotcha.
But that's interesting. Question from Andrew: Patrick Beverley to the Lakers if Leonard over D'Angelo Russell?
I think that'd be a great signing.
Yeah, me too.
They need defense. They need, like LeBron doesn't play defense during the regular season. Obviously, if Anthony Davis is a defensive monster, but to have a defensive menace at the point of attack like Beverley, that's huge. And he knows who he is. He'll hit a three. He'll defend. He'll make the right play. He's a high energy guy. I think that's the exact type of player that they should sign.
Can handle the ball a little too.
Yeah. I mean,
who else is going to do it, right?
Exactly. I mean, LeBron will do some of it, but again, he's at a point in his career where he's going to have to play like 30 minutes a game tops. So you're going to have to get him his rest. You're going to have to maybe consider not playing him on back-to-backs. So you're going to have somebody else to do it. I think the Lakers, I know that they're going for that third star. I get exactly why they're going for that third star. I think it's smarter to get those high energy Pat Beverly types to carry you through the regular season. I really feel like carrying those guys through the regular season, being that high energy, winning games just because you're a higher energy team, which you can do in the regular season.
Yeah,
give those guys a bit of a break. In the playoffs, you step back, let the stars take over. Let LeBron pump up his minutes. That's how you win. And with those two stars, they're good enough to make everybody better. So, I mean, I think that should be the formula. The Lakers, I think, will be lucky to have things kind of maybe fall apart with Kawhi, and they could flip to that. The problem is you're talking about Kawhi not taking meetings now. If they're hanging out waiting for Kawhi, and it's going to take 2 days, the question with the Lakers is how many of these guys that they should get are going to be gone by then?
It's interesting. I saw Megan in the chat who said Le Breakdown will become a fantastic meme come March/April, which is always a chance.
It's crazy though. He, for the first time in his career, right, he doesn't have to be even the number 2 guy on the floor if they get Kawhi. It would be interesting to see load management and all the other ways in which they're going to deal with LeBron getting to the playoffs. Like we're kind of at that point, right, where you just want to fast forward LeBron to the playoffs, but you don't really lose. Now, again, it depends. I mean, if you're going to J.R. Smith and Carmelo Anthony for 35, 40 games a year, that's going to hurt you a lot. But at the same time, if you can manage him knowing that Kawhi and AD can take on a ton of the load on any given night, then that's going to do wonders, I think, to at least extend him. Doesn't mean he's going to be healthy come the second round of the playoffs, but I don't know. I almost feel like they can play it smart now for the first time as he gets older.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I mean that's the goal. I think the only thing with that is that LeBron's going to be LeBron, and he may make sense for him to take a step back, but when it hits the fan, he's going to be the guy. And that's why there are always questions about Kawhi. Like, Kawhi's the guy. Anthony Davis, not to as much of an extent, because bigs don't get the chance to do that because your back's to the basket. You need somebody to get you the ball. Well, he's a really good ball handler, but it's going to be Kawhi or LeBron, and I don't know if there's going to be any butting heads or if there's going to be any issue with that. But in the end, LeBron's going to be the guy until he physically can no longer do it. He's going to want to take over in those big moments.
For sure. Anything to reduce the risk of injury for LeBron James at this point in his career, despite everything he's done to keep him in the shape and position that he's in with Mike Mincy as trainer and everything that he's done and written books about and whatnot. With all that being said, the dude is still getting older. Anything you can do to reduce his risk of injury, do it at $100 million cost, at Al Horford type contract cost. Do whatever you have to do.
Unbelievable. Al Horford deal.
All right, guys, I gotta go keep paying attention to this Al Horford stuff, so I gotta take off. But it was good talking to you.
Thank you for joining us. Appreciate you coming on.
See you guys.
See ya. And I gotta be honest, like I'm seeing a lot. So I put a tweet out saying that I love what they did with Harris because I knew that they were gonna move on from Butler. So I love the fact that they got Richardson back, but I'm still not convinced that the money and the years for Al Horford are going to pay off past this season. And it's amazing the reaction that I'm seeing here from people who probably were like imagine all the deleted tweets that are going on fans about Al Horford of all people, right?
How terrible he was. Yeah, how talentless he was. Yeah,
exactly right. Yeah. Oh, we love Al Horford. I've been an Al Horford guy my whole life. Ever since he came in the NBA, I've been a pro Horford guy. No, that not here. I can tell you that. But I'm getting not flack or anything, but I'm surprised. And that was contrary to, I guess, what we were saying earlier about Sixers fans being a little upset. I feel like I'm in the pretty small minority of people who are questioning the, I guess, length. And even if it's $96 million, I mean, that's still like 24 and a quarter a year. That's a lot.
It's a lot of money. He got paid.
This could be one of the best starting fives that defensively that we've seen in a while. But again, here's where I have to think through it and help me out with this, right? We're looking at this squad defensively, and I get it. Like, they really are going to be a significant upgrade. They've got 5-6 guys that can be great. Tobias Harris is the weakest defender, and he's pretty good at – he's not great, but he's pretty good at switching off and things. So
He'll do all right.
Exactly. He'll be fine. He's not going to get, like, lost or covered up like a J.J. Redick. Yet I wonder, and Buster, this is where I go to you and ask, is the league not necessarily past that, but are you at a point right now where you're almost setting yourself back to try to hold teams to 85, 90 in a league and a game that's almost demanding that you put up $110, $120 a night?
So I think it depends who they're going up against, right? They're positioning themselves to go up against who next year, contingent that Kawhi Leonard leaves and goes to either the Clippers or the Lakers. The best team in that conference then becomes the Milwaukee Bucks. You look at the primary guy that was able to somewhat hold down a Giannis Antetokounmpo. That's the guy you just picked up. And then you also have Joel Embiid on that team who, when healthy, can put up a challenge to just about anyone. Did that to an extent to Serge Ibaka and Siakam and all the guys on the Raptors that they had to fight against, and lost on one of the craziest buzzer beaters in the history of the NBA, maybe the craziest, on the 6 bouncer from Kawhi Leonard from the corner. So them putting themselves in a position to go up against that team in the Eastern Conference Finals, to put themselves in a position to win 4 games in the NBA Finals, I don't disagree with. Now, will they have an amazing regular season record? Maybe not, because a lot of teams are just going to come up on them and drain a bunch of threes, and they're not going to know what to do. And if a team gets 100 points, they're going to lose most of those games because they're not going to score 110 points a game. So I think a lot of it depends on who they're playing against. If they were playing against the old Golden State Warriors, they would get blown out of the water. The teams they're going to beat are the teams that can't shoot. And fortunately for them, that's a lot of the top teams in the East right now.
That can't shoot.
Cannot shoot.
Yeah. I wonder, I mean, Indiana, right? You look at that. I know they improved with their backcourt, but you look at teams that were built or predicated more on defense. Boston, we know with Kemba, but still, I mean, the Sixers, to your point, look like they match up well, especially defensively with all those teams. I just wonder, because I saw it in that Raptors series where if Embiid, and I know the team has changed a little bit, but still you're looking at guys that are new to this team you're going to have to rely on. It's like if Embiid is off or out, then everything kind of goes to shit. And you're looking around like, where is that sense of cohesion? And it sure as hell isn't coming from Ben Simmons, because he can just disappear in these games. So it's almost that's what I'm saying. Is Josh Richardson going to turn into Jimmy Butler? Is Tobias Harris going to take over?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Either of those things, in my opinion, are going to happen. But you have to look at some of the other teams in the conference, like the Boston Celtics now. What are the Boston Celtics without Kyrie Irving, Al Horford, and Terry Rozier? The answer is they're Kemba Walker, Jaylen Brown, and Jason Tatum, which I don't know if that team's getting you all the way.
No, I think you have to look at them as kind of fighting to be the best of the bottom 3 right now. Miami is interesting with the arrival of Jimmy Butler. They lose Richardson, but I imagine that Boston is going to be fighting to kind of stay ahead in like that 6th seed, as opposed to fighting for like positioning in that 4th seed to where they could be. Do you think that they could be a top 5 team, or you still think
Boston?
Yeah.
I think they're going to be a bottom team, potentially not
you don't think they'll be in the playoff?
It's possible. I don't know how good these 3 guys are going to be. They're missing a lot.
Well, up front, right. I mean, they don't have much at all. And to be fair, all the things that we're saying, like concern about Horford, the reality is that the guy was really a key piece of glue for a team that looked like it was falling apart. You didn't even mention Kyrie. Exactly. And you didn't even mention, rightfully so, Gordon Hayward. Why would you, right? So that's another piece that is there with a lot of money.
If you're healthy and you're coming off the bench, I'm not going to mention you when I'm talking about them making the finals.
Right. I know. I don't blame you.
Yeah.
But think about the expectations of him being able to be a piece, a 4th piece. And now we're saying, no, you can't even rely on him to come off, to be a starter.
And then also what's important.
Scher's big too.
Huge. Huge.
Sorry.
But what I think is also important is that the Brooklyn Nets are not relevant this year.
Correct. Well, in what sense? That, I mean, they still have they've got what they've established, what they've grown when in that backcourt. They add Kyrie. They're not going to be a top 5 team, probably, right? You've got, well, we'll assume Kawhi's back. They're not going to be. They're not
sure,
going to be.
let's assume
right.
that.
So you still have 4 teams at least ahead of them, where you look at Toronto, Milwaukee, Indiana, Philadelphia. Am I missing a team?
You said Toronto, Philadelphia,
Indiana, Milwaukee. Probably them. Brooklyn, Boston, maybe, or Miami, depending on what they do.
Yeah. I'd put them in the mix with Boston. If Miami also gets Bradley Beal, it's a little bit more interesting, but I'll put them in the mix for now. It's definitely up for debate.
If they get Bradley Beal, what does that do for Miami now? Does that put them now definitively, like, does that wedge them in between that top 4 we're talking about and the Boston /
I think it puts them dead at 5.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Right in the middle of the mix.
Yeah, I agree.
Because they're then better than what Brooklyn is right now without Kevin Durant. They're better than what Boston is right now with Kemba Walker and company. That team I like a lot.
Yeah.
With Hassan Whiteside down there too, has been playing out of his mind the last couple seasons, and I don't even think has been given enough credit for that because he's been outstanding. But I think that team becomes really interesting.
Yeah, that would be serious to look at how that seeding plays out. And again, you've got some guys that I don't know Jimmy Butler if he's holding up, but the expectation of that team, it was crazy because of where we were with them, would be right there smack in the middle. And then that to your point about Boston, I know that's kind of where we began, but that's where Boston really is right now. They're kind of wait and see mode. They're like, all right, if Kawhi leaves, that might make things a little bit easier because we have one less team that's definitively better. They're better, but at the same time, all it takes is Miami. Well, that's a big trade, really, but all it takes is a team that's hovering around you, if you're Boston, to get significantly or even like marginally better. And you're looking around like, all right, we've lost a lot up front. We lost a great guy with attitude and presence on the floor in Rozier. Mm-hmm. And Kyrie is Kyrie. You've replaced him with Kemba, but there's still going to be some adjustment that you're going to have to get used to. I can't imagine Kemba Walker comes in and it's like, hey, man, I've been playing here like the last 15 years.
Yeah. What I'm super happy for, though, and this honestly has less to do with the Boston Celtics and less to do with the Eastern Conference, more to do with just Kemba Walker himself. Because for as much as it may be terrible that he's not getting $200+ million in Charlotte, he's now getting national recognition, which he didn't ever get at any point in his career, except for when he was in college playing on the national stage at UConn. So for Kemba Walker to now be on national TV 10, 20, 30 times a year, however many they end up putting this Boston Celtics team on national TV, for sure, infinite amount more than he was in Charlotte because he never was. Really? The only time Kemba Walker was on national TV was in the All-Star game. So I'm happy for him on that front. And everybody's going to see if the dude can ball. There's a reason he was up in the conversation for a Supermax contract.
It's crazy because I think, to your point about that, I think Kemba, the conversation about Kemba going to Boston, and maybe it was just people trying to pile on Ainge and the Celtics, but it seemed like a lot of people got caught watching the box scores and watching some stats and even some usage rate stuff and trying to formulate why Kemba would be this significant drop-off. But I think the reality is, and I'm just being from, same area as you and moving to Southern Connecticut and being a fan of UConn I'm 40 now, as long as I can remember. I watched them too in college and had an eye on them. And I was kind of surprised because it felt like a lot of people were trying to just sub in their hate or disdain for Ainge, play Walker, where a lot of the stuff they were saying didn't really add up to what you watch when you see him out there. And I'm with you, bro. It's great to see people now forced to recognize that Walker can play. And I think it's going to change people's opinion about like Boston taking this hypothetical step back or maybe this like believed step back because Kyrie is a little bit better than Kemba. I think that's nonsense. Honestly, real talk, I think Kemba comes in and they don't miss a beat at that position.
I agree.
I don't.
I think he'll be better because what we saw from Kyrie was Kyrie came in and then started making these promises for no reason. He started saying we're going to – he came in for no reason from Cleveland where he had LeBron James alongside him and was winning championships with multiple All-Stars, comes into Boston, thinks he's going to do it all himself, starts proclaiming that he's going to re-sign before he plays a single game, plays terribly, starts dissing the media for telling him how he played and how he knows he played, leaves. Kemba Walker comes in, who I can guarantee will not say a thing about what he expects for next season, apart from the fact that he's going to play his heart out and loves Boston and loves the crowd. It's literally all he's going to say. He's going to come in and he's going to play his heart out, and he's going to address every single thing he does the way it happens. He's not going to avoid it or anything. He's also, in my opinion, one of the top 3 highlight play point guards in the NBA. So I think that's going to be a lot of fun for Boston fans too.
Yeah, you're right. And that's going to add to it. You're going to see him more on the Sports Center. You'll see him, as you said, on national TV. Boston is always going to be a draw for that. The rivalries are still there. You're going to see the Sixers-Knicks thing, especially with Sixers-Celtics, especially with Horford going there now. So I think that Boston, even if they finish 6th in the Eastern Conference, assuming that Miami makes a trade, or even if they just fall behind another team like the Brooklyn Nets, that's the cool thing about the Eastern Conference. Look at it. Like, you have your top 4 in there. They're locked in. But Miami now is a storyline with Jimmy Butler. The Nets are a storyline because they have Kyrie, and we know whatever happens, it's either going to be exceeding expectations or, don't worry, KD's going to be there. Don't worry, next year.
2021 champions.
Yeah, exactly right. Just writing it in.
Yeah.
And then you also have the Celtics, who I think either way, there's going to be a storyline. I don't know. It's not like we couldn't find storylines in the Western Conference that deep, but I feel like the Eastern Conference, for the first time in a long time, 1 through 7, there's some compelling stuff going on, even if the team isn't good.
I completely agree. Also, Goran Dragic is a Dallas Maverick now as part of that sign and trade.
Is that right?
So within the Jimmy Butler to Miami sign and trade deal, 3-team deal where Dragic also heads to Dallas.
How many more years were on his deal? Do you know offhand?
It couldn't have been that many. Let me check that.
This year and next year? Yeah. No way it was longer than that.
We'll find out right now.
That's huge for them, Miami. I know they've been trying to.
Yeah, he becomes a free agent after this season.
Okay, so he's got 1 more year left. All right.
Yeah,
I know they were looking to move on from the deal. Now that opens up some more money for the Bradley Beal move, I imagine, right? What are they at?
Yeah. For Bradley Beal?
No, I'm saying, wait, that didn't go down.
No, it hasn't gone down yet.
No, I meant as far as in that 3-team deal, did they get anything back from Dallas?
It doesn't say so.
Yeah, I didn't see that either, so I wasn't sure if it popped.
It doesn't say so, but it was Bleacher Report that reported it.
Okay.
So that's interesting.
Yep.
I believe we have Dre in New Mexico ready on the fan line. So we get Dre in here, get his thoughts on some of what's going down. Dre in New Mexico. What's going on, brother?
What's up, Dre?
How are you?
Good. How about you?
Doing good. So
what are your look at that.
Yeah, reffing. So what are your thoughts on what's gone down today?
I don't know. I didn't really catch anything. I was at basketball practice, so I couldn't really catch a lot.
Good man.
But I'm trying to catch as much as I can right now. Just catching up on everything.
So how do you feel about Kevin Durant? I assume you've heard by now, but Kevin Durant is on the Brooklyn Nets.
Yep.
Yeah, I mean, it was pretty crazy. I didn't really expect that. I thought it was pretty much a lock for him to go to the Knicks.
Oh man, don't. That hurts, brother. It stings.
Yeah, man. I'm a Cavs fan, so I mean.
You're a Cavs fan. All right.
Yeah.
Well, at least you got a title.
Yeah, we got one. We got one.
So any other reactions to anything else that's gone down? Did you hear about the Jimmy Butler deal?
Yeah.
So do you think Miami is now a contender? Do we lose them? But we still got you.
Oh, no, we're good. Yeah.
Do you think Miami is now a contender in the East?
I don't really know. I don't really feel like it. I feel like depending on the rest of free agency, I feel like 2 or 3 years they'll be a top team in the East probably.
That's an interesting point. We've been talking about the possibility of Bradley Beal also going down to Miami and joining Jimmy Butler. Now, if that happens, I personally think they're a top 4 team in the East, potentially 5 guaranteed.
Yeah, I think so too. I think that would put them up there. Not for good.
So how do you feel about the current Cavs team?
Kevin Love's out.
Yeah. I mean, I don't really know. I feel like Darius Garland's gonna help us out a lot, though.
Okay.
I feel like he was a big sleeper in the draft.
I agree. He has tremendous representation.
Yeah.
We'll say that at the very least. He's got a good group of people behind him, if that means anything, which I'm sure it does. But Kevin Love is now out. They got a few pieces in return, including Myers, Leonard, and company.
Wait, we traded Kevin Love?
Yeah.
Wait, I didn't see. Oh my God, what?
Yeah.
Breaking news!
Right.
You traded Kevin Love.
Wait, how long ago did this happen?
A couple hours ago, they traded Kevin Love to Portland. So it's now Damian Lillard, CJ McCollum, and Kevin Love in Portland.
That
you
team's
guys
gonna
got
be pretty good.
Myers, Leonard, and a few other pieces. Let me confirm who you guys got real quick for you. And I believe a couple draft picks. Let's pull that up.
Yeah, it looked like it.
Wow. Damn. I didn't really. Whoa.
Let's pull up the official. Here we go. Oh, did we lose him?
Yeah, I think so. It's all right.
Oh, we lost him. He'll be able to find it.
Yep. I was looking for the deal too.
Number one searches. I think it was in our little chat here on the stream. That's why I couldn't find it, because I didn't have it on my phone.
Yeah.
But for everybody watching, the deal was, let's see it. Maybe it was above. Yeah, I think we just lost it on there. But regardless, Kevin Love is now a Portland Trailblazer with CJ McCollum and Damian Lillard.
Yeah, and they got Leonard back. We know that. It was just about the picks, right?
Yeah, it was a matter of how many first-round picks, which I believe 2
future first rounders. Yeah, because you know
2.
what? I'm sorry, man. Cam had it up here, our producer, and I should have just. We had all these comments. All right, so.
Oh yeah, so Kevin Love, yeah,
protected first rounders.
There it is, and Mo Harkless, yes sir.
They got rid of
that. Interesting.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah.
We got a couple more questions in on the chat. Bill says,
Sixers fan.
thank God we do not have to watch the pick and roll with Redick and Embiid anymore. Now we have to depend on a rookie for outside shooting.
They never ran the pick and roll. That was the problem, at least not with – they didn't run it enough. And Ben Simmons with the ball in his hand 90% of the time. Whenever they had Butler in the playoffs, that's when they started to run it. You start to see it better. But Brett Brown has a lot to do this year. I'll just leave it at that.
Yeah.
He has a lot.
For sure.
That motion offense ain't going to cut it, all right? That's all I'll say. Here's the thing, and we talked a little bit about this earlier going up to Boston, but I would like them to have more shooters, but it's not like they have no shooters. So they do have Richardson, they do have Harris, they do have Horford, they do have Embiid, who could probably shoot, 35, 38 on trailing threes. But that's the thing. It's just they need more as opposed to they don't have any.
Matthew commented, the Dallas Euro steps, anybody? So you look at the Dallas Mavericks right now. They have Luka Doncic, Kristaps Porzingis, whom they signed to a contract unbeknownst to me as a New York Knicks fan. He deserved, regardless. They signed Kristaps Porzingis to a bunch of years. And now they have Goran Dragic as well, all Euro team.
That's crazy. Yeah, you're right. I forgot even at the end to round it out. Man, so you wouldn't have given Kristaps that deal if you were a Knicks still?
$150 million? Dude hasn't played a game in over a year. Just got in a fight this offseason, has other allegations against him.
Well, yeah, I guess those allegations are enough to get rid of a guy, if true.
I mean, that's how the Knicks felt.
Yeah, no, and don't get me wrong. I hate to say it in this regard because I don't want to minimize or devalue what happened. But if that were not the case and you just looked at from a basketball standpoint and he didn't get into trouble on his own like he did, is it at that point, are you forcing a sign and trade? You're not going to let him walk, right?
Kristaps?
Yeah.
No, you can't let him walk. But
So at that point, you do have to trade him anyway, right?
Are other teams going to offer him $150 million?
I don't know. I think the Knicks probably preemptive. Well, again, aside from what happened off the court,
Yeah.
was the trade not a preemptive move to not be stuck in that position a year later?
For sure. I mean, the Knicks also didn't want any of that negative attention, period, at that point in time,
I don't blame them at all for that.
Let alone having anything to do with the contract itself. And at the time, they also decided they wanted to free a bunch of cap space so that they could have a chance at Kevin Durant and Kawhi Leonard and Kyrie Irving and Kemba Walker and every big player that didn't come to the New York Knicks. They ended up getting Julius Randle, who I like. A lot of people are saying he's Walmart Zion Williamson, or Zion Williamson without without any hops, but I beg to differ. I think Zion Williamson is Walmart Julius Randle. I'm just kidding, but I like both of them, and I think Julius Randle has a lot of potential. I think he's going to be an all-star within the next 2 years, so I'm looking forward to him on the New York Knicks. I'm happy about that. And at whatever $20 million a year, $21 million a year they gave him, I'm cool.
Yeah. I think that's fair. It doesn't kill you. And again, I think if it doesn't come on the heels of the Durant news, it's met with a lot more positivity than it probably already is. But yeah, I mean, I don't look at the deal, even, outside of looking at it from a Knicks fan perspective or covering the team, I don't look at the deal like it's a negative by any means. I don't know where you would look at that and say, oh, I mean, even the Horford thing we talked about, I don't like the money. The Randle signing looks like a pretty good deal for the Knicks, which is a tough phrase to kind of get out because you're not used to really saying that, right?
Yeah, and also the disappointment from today. Getting a little comment here. Ramona Shelbourne is reporting that Kawhi Leonard has spoken with Magic Johnson today.
Is that right?
Despite other reports saying that Kawhi was postponing all meetings until the next couple days. So that's interesting.
So he met with Magic. Well, hold on a second, because Magic's technically not a team employee, right? Not anymore. So he could meet with Magic and still say that he wasn't holding any team meetings, right?
That is technically true. Magic Johnson can also tweet that Kawhi Leonard's going to the Lakers, and it means nothing.
Right. There's no more tampering or nothing.
He can go on Jimmy Kimmel, which he was previously fined $500,000 for. He can go on Jimmy Kimmel, say LeBron is going to the Knicks and KD's going to play in the Euro Leagues. He can say that Kawhi's going to play center for the Lakers and get paid $20 an hour. He can say whatever he wants. Nothing matters anymore. It's like upside down world. But it also is weird that Kawhi would even speak to Magic Johnson in the first place.
Yeah, well, apparently, didn't he suggest or demand that the meeting was only going to be with Jeannie Buss and Magic?
Kawhi?
Yeah, I thought that's the meeting that he wanted with the Lakers, was that it would only be Buss and Magic at the table.
How long ago did he want this?
I'm going to look it up right now. This must have been today's Sunday. I want to say
since Magic has left.
I'm sorry?
Since Magic has left, obviously.
Oh, yeah. This was like a couple of days ago. Yeah. Yeah. I'm going to Google it right now with Buss and Leonard. Kawhi Leonard only wants to meet with Magic and Buss during Lakers visit. That was the Times a day ago. So I wonder how much. Yeah, I guess it was on SportsCenter 2 days ago. So this was only a couple of days ago. And I wonder, because everybody was responding like, oh, wow, nobody, obviously no LeBron and no Rob Pelinka as well, which is probably a good thing that they keep Pelinka out of the room. But,
I agree.
I wonder if this is maybe, I don't know, based on what came out with that report and also the fact that we're Ramona Shelbourne now, and also what you said about how he wasn't expect to meet with anybody, I don't even know how you put that all into one at this point.
Yeah, none of it makes any sense like the rest of free agency. And something that also makes very little sense, Dre in the chat says DeAndre Jordan to the Nets 4 years, $40 million, which is a steal if that's true.
4 years, $40 million. Wow.
If that's true, that is a steal and a half.
I'm looking for that right now.
Yeah, it's official.
Wow.
Woj tweeted it 5 minutes ago.
Wow.
4 years, $40 million.
That's the same clip that you got, what's his name in New York for?
Taj Gibson.
Yes, Taj Gibson. That's Taj Gibson money right there. He was
Although,
2 for 20,
fortunately,
right?
Taj is 2 for 21.
Oh, 2 for 20. Yeah, but I'm saying
which is bigger. Taj Gibson is getting paid more money per year on the New York Knicks than DeAndre Jordan is in the first 2 years of his contract.
Unbelievable.
Shout out to the Brooklyn Nets, Sean Marks and company for sweeping day one of free agency. Clean sweep. There is nobody that they wanted that they didn't sign today. Nobody.
No, not at all. You're right. I mean, this was amazing. And that deal right there to slide into the end, economically speaking, is a mind blower. And then you also have where they're set up with Durant. This was an amazing day by Marks. Really. Can we start giving him the praise that Ainge got like 2 years ago?
Ainge got so much credit and did nothing with it. Absolutely nothing. And now he's going out drafting randos that aren't performing. Yeah. Going out and trading for guys that are getting injured and then losing guys after 1 year on the team, which it doesn't reflect very well on you.
Yep. Unbelievable, man. This has been wild. I don't even know.
Oh my goodness. So Woj is also saying that Durant and Irving are both taking pay cuts.
Really?
To help the Nets sign DeAndre Jordan to the 4-year, $40 million deal.
Wow. That in its own right is beyond impressive.
Pay cuts.
Pay cuts
the
for
only
DeAndre.
Time in the last year I've heard the term pay cut was in reference to DeMarcus Cousins.
Yeah. Coming off a major injury.
Who took like $5 million for 1 year. And he's going to get – I'm happy for him too. He deserved it.
Yeah.
He came back in the NBA Finals and played well.
I agree. Yeah, I don't think that it was any type of buyer's remorse with Boogie by any means.
Yeah.
I just am blown away at how they got this thing together and how they put it all together. This is an amazing – as impressed as I was with Elton Brand, I have to double that. At least with Marks. And I know that the quality of player is 5 times better. I'm just saying as far as their ability to put all this thing together in the last year and also put together a team. You know, listen, they made the playoffs. It's not like they tanked. It's not like they were openly trying to lose this past season, I'm saying. What an impressive build. And then also to be able to cap it off with all this money spent. Holy this is incredible.
So I think the Kevin Love trade might not have happened.
No?
Andrew just wrote in the comment section that he thinks the Kevin Love trade was fake news, and I just Googled it and can't find reports. So I'm going to double confirm that. But I believe, unless it just hasn't been made official yet, I know that was expected over the last couple of days and leading up to today. But the only time I've seen it so far, and we've seen it, was here in the chat.
Right.
So that might not have happened yet. So apologies to our friend from New Mexico.
Oh, no. He's probably we just made it tonight. Now he's probably on Twitter like, what are these guys talking about? I ruined it tonight. Oh my goodness!
I'm sorry, Dre from New Mexico. It may not have happened yet. Now it probably will still happen.
Right.
But I believe as of right now, it has not. Andrew in the comment section was completely right about that. Matt says, "Can we give Sean Marks the GM of the Year award right now?"
You give him the offseason GM of the Year award. Danny Ainge has won that, I think, like 3 years in a row, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, to fans' perspective, yeah.
Of course.
Yeah. Not performance perspective. Yeah.
The offseason GM of the Year award is always voted on by fans. The real GM of the Year award voted on by more people, I guess people with better insight. I'm just looking at this thing. Brooklyn times each contract so they can add 5.7 million and 4.9 million KD, Kyrie, respectively, of unlikely but possible bonuses reaching round 2, 45 wins in each contract. This is Bobby Marks explaining kind of how they can maneuver around that 10 million a year and not having to make any trades of the roster. This is wow. That's some good cap maneuvering right there.
So Andrew's saying the love trades started as a fake Woj account, probably from Sports Talk Barry, and then spread, which makes sense, and then made it in. The report we got was, I wonder if it made it to ESPN.
No. The fake.
Because the report we got said ESPN. So that's very interesting to whomever was able to put that out. Goes to show social media. What I love about off-season and free agency is like the difference between the NBA Finals is for the NBA Finals, everybody tunes into TV. You can write whatever you want on Twitter, on Instagram, on Snapchat, wherever it is. You can write whatever you want, but at the end of the day, everybody's going to tune in and see the same game. Whereas in the off season, there is nothing to tune into. So it's completely up to the text, the copy, the funny tweets, whatever it may be, and shows like this, which is very different from an actual game. So that's why I love the off season so much more, because it's up to so many more individuals and creatives to create that narrative and visualization of what an off season or free agency period is, in contrast to any sporting event. And I think basketball is the best for that.
I agree, man. It's taken over. I don't even know what the number 2 is anymore. It used to be the NFL. You would get some good movement and just some excitement, but it's rare that Nick Foles is the biggest named quarterback, and that's the biggest position in that sport. What I love to add to your point, I think what I love about it is we've all become general managers with fantasy basketball and 2K and everything that we do. And this is the best time for any sport in any moment to sit there and say, oh, look at this starting 5 versus this starting 5, knowing, of course, we've got, months until we'll see a team on the floor. But the reaction like this is just insanity. And you're right, nothing is even close to this, where you can sit there, create and discuss a narrative about a guy leaving a team. Why did KD leave money on the table? And you can also, in the same breath, talk about what the Nets will look like in 2 years and play 2K GM and make the trades if 2K hasn't updated the rosters. It's crazy, man. Nothing fits like this together like the NBA. You're so right on that.
Crazy. My friend, I think that just about does it. Where can people find you on social media?
At Shander Show on Twitter is the best place to find me. I have all the different things I do there. So at Shander Show on Twitter is easy.
And at Buster on Instagram for myself. My friend, thank you so much for doing this.
My pleasure, brother. Thanks, Buster. It was a pleasure.
All right. Thank you. Thank everyone. Thank you all for tuning in, especially those who hopped in on the fan line. So thank you guys very much. And you can find us both on Fancred. Without any further ado, ladies and gentlemen, we will see you next time. Have a good night and rest of free agency. See ya.
See ya.